started, quick round of intros. Sandeep, you want to start with it?
Hey guys, I'm Sandeep, founder at Polygon, and I work on the ecosystem at Polygon, and Polygon. Many of you guys might know that Polygon is building this, kind of these layer 2 execution environments, and Polygon is building this product, which is ag layer, where you can have multiple layer 2s. Which can seamlessly interoperate and feel like one single chain, and we'll talk more about that as we go along.
Hi, I'm Eli Ben Sasson. The first thing you should know about me is that I'm the guy that goes on panels with Sandeep. It's the third panel we're sharing in Singapore. But in my free time, when I don't go on panels with Sandeep, I am a co-founder and CEO of Starkware. I started my career as an academic. I did research on snarks and starks. I'm also a founding scientist of Zcash. And right now what we're doing is working very hard on Starknet, which is probably the best in terms of performance and all kinds of metrics on top, the best validity rollup on top of Ethereum with a brand new stack that you should check out.
Hello. Hey, I'm Prabal. I'm one of the co-founders of Avail. At Avail, we are trying to scale and defragment the rollup-centric world. And with that, we have our own base layer, which is the Avail DA, which is in production right now. And on top of that, we are trying to build Avail Nexus, which is the rollup aggregation framework, so to say.
Sounds good. I'm Francesco. For the people that doesn't know me, I'm leading developer relation at Consensus, and I've been for the past 10 years in developer communities. So I'm super excited also about this panel. So the topic is modularity. Let's start with some context for everybody here. So why modularity is today so important?
Yeah, I mean, the answer, it's very easy you don't even need to be technical to understand that. Generally, you can think of any particular blockchain as like a computer which has some capacity, right? So and you have different kinds of computers. You have EVM chains. You have Ethereum, which is a computer which has 13 TPS, 13 transactions per second. Bitcoin is also kind of a computer which computes this payment transactions. You have things like Polygon POS, which can compute 250 transactions per second. Solana is there as a computer, which can process, let's say, they say 2,000, 3,000, whatever transactions they can process. And it's like a single computer, right? And the point is that till now, because the scalability on blockchains was so less, the TPS available throughput was so less that everybody was focused on increasing the throughput on one single computer, right? But then you'll realize later on that even if you increase it to, let's say, 50,000, 100,000, right, on one single computer, it's still one single computer. It cannot be the internet. And what we are all, trying and working for is to create this new trustless internet, which literally should have infinite scalability. Practically infinite scalability, which current internet, Web 2 internet has. I'm saying it with a big asterisk, practically infinite scalability. As many people want to launch apps, they can come to the markets and things like that. And that can only happen with a modular, architecture. Like Ethereum is, the current internet that you see, and then 2 billion, 3 billion people globally are connected to. It is not built as one single giant infrastructure somebody built and everybody is building on top of it. It's a set of multiple modular, architectures which interconnect with each other. That's, it is called internet, interconnection of multiple networks. And that is why will it not be true for Web3? And that's the basis for modularity, having more and more modular architecture where multiple parties can have multiple different kind of, right now experiments and eventually architectures which can seamlessly work with each other, and you can have this capacity as well as choice for the developers where they can build different kind of infrastructures which suit their business models. And that's why I mean, as per me, there is no other way except modularity. Even the chains which have these high throughput ecosystems, and you as for example, Solana is a very big example. There also you can already see applications, very hardcore applications of the ecosystem, saying that we cannot exist on this single chain anymore. We have to go out and launch our own chains because we are consuming too much bandwidth. And at the end, you realize that they are also moving towards the similar kind of architecture, which is the modular layer 2 architecture. So it is there's no other way out in my mind.
Welcome, Sandy. The question is all about why modularity is so important those days, and yeah, so happy that you joined us.
Okay, why modularity is so important these days? Yeah, I think modularity versus monolithic is a great kind of debate framework that kind of sets the Ethereum ecosystem apart from the alt L1s, which were a kind of a prevailing emerging trend where developers and liquidity are going elsewhere. It is an ideological as well as a kind of how we imagine the future of the tech stack is designed. I'm sure a lot of the speakers here have touched on how diversification of different design stacks and different interpretations of how different things fit together, and letting a little bit of kind of product and market dynamics decide how the end stack works is much more dynamic and much more adjusted to whatever reality this like value layer of the internet might be shaping. In the interim, there will be a period where users are facing too many options, and there might be a little bit of attention fragmentation. But given how early we are in the space, I think this kind of experimentation is very much needed, and there will be a time, just like I think a lot of the L1 debates are somewhat over, and I think there will be a time where various parts of the stacks gets like settled in, and then it no longer becomes, we no longer have like too many like ice creams in the flavors in the ice cream shop, so to speak.
Yeah, I would like to agree with what they said. Like, so I think you're going from one server-based architecture to a microservices-like architecture where each one of them can scale according to their demands, like we see in today's world. And at the same time, you are basically making these parts break apart and then functionally optimizing them separately. I think that's what it is all about. Earlier, if I had to change a particular opcode inside my execution environment, let's say, I cannot do that. I do not have the ability to attract those network effects just to have a fork Ethereum. I can always fork Ethereum and add an opcode, but it doesn't make me build something with the same amount of network effect. With this kind of an architecture, it allows me to optimize only for my application, only for, let's say, a sequencer design, a shared sequencer design, an aggregated framework, and so on and so forth.
What are the trade-offs that you see right now, versus monolithic chains?
Yeah, I think the trade-off is integration points, right? Because there is so much non-standardization about what we are doing. See, the point is when you have non-standardized frameworks about how these pieces fit inside them together, there are Lego blocks, but there is no standard way of putting them together. And that is what we are fleshing out, I think, right now. And that's where the pain points are. If you see the problems that we face right now while integrating with a Starkware, with a Polygon, with a Scroll, is that the DA interface, for example, is something that we are having to think about right now. We are having to talk about and then get them fleshed out and then build that. So those are the integration points which are causing pains because we are still figuring these out. And so once this matures, I would hope that these pain points are not going to be a factor anymore.
And obviously, one big trade-off, as we all know, this Web3 is like internet of value, and value gets fragmented across these modular execution environments. And I think that is one of the, efforts, we at Polygon also trying to solve with Aglair, and many other efforts are like that. I think Avail is also doing Avail Nexus. There are multiple other projects like that.
And challenges-wise, you see, how many developers do we have in the room? Do you have something? How many full-time AWS developers do we have in the room? Just trying to tweak a little bit. But pain points-wise, this could be on the infra side, could be on the developer side. What are the challenges that you see around both developers and users today?
Well, I mean, obviously, if something is monolithic, then as long as it's designed and built in a coherent way, then maybe easier to integrate with, but it is also more sort of rigid and less room for exploration. I can say that on Starknet, so very proud to say that each part of the stack, there are usually 2 or 3 independent implementations, and it causes more strain because you need to coordinate. There are at least 2 or 3 implementations of sequencers, of full nodes, of provers, of every part of the stack. So you need more coordination, and it's harder to change features because you need to talk to more people. But there's also a lot more redundancy, broadness, adoption of the technology, and on the whole, I think it's a better approach, especially for a system that is designed really that its core value in the long term is all pegged on there being true broadness and no single points of failure. And for that, it's really important to choose a stack that you believe can deliver you this broadness in the long term, right? Because you're going to dedicate, if you're a developer or a builder, you're going to dedicate your most scarce resource, which is your time, to build something, and you want to build it on the right infrastructure. And I mean, there are too many sort of glorified databases that are centralized that offer you today. It's a little bit like the rush of adrenaline, of sugar or alcohol or something. You get this immediate rush, but in the long term, it's sort of you're set on a path that isn't going to succeed, because things again that are like glorified, non-secure, single point of failure databases, while they may attract now users because it's easier to get them when you're operating these things that are not ever going to be broadly operated, well, in the long term, it's going to fail. So at least at Starknet, we're really, have this sort of very futuristic mindset. We really want to build things for the future in a way that is scalable, secure, broadly built. It causes more friction, yes, but if you want to build something that is everlasting, then you want to build it the right way in terms also of modularity and redundancy and having a lot of teams building it.
Yeah, I think sustainability and like kind of having like a strong and focused community to building on a specific tech stack is definitely the most important things that you want to focus, right? Speaking about collaboration, like where do you see like layer one monolithic versus like modular blockchain like collaborating with each other? We had, what was that, last week Vitalik mentioning like I'm only mentioning type 1 from what was that, 2025. So I assume like there need to be more collaboration, but what is your stand on that?
I'll just say that for us, at least at Starknet, we definitely, I know that there are these like communities and, there's Bitcoin maxis and Ethereum maxis and Solana maxis and this maxi and that maxi. At least at Starknet, we think that, we have this technology that will be adopted by everyone, which we invented and productized first. And it's great to have many other teams also using it. I'm talking about ZK Starks, which I co-invented in my previous life as an academic, and everyone's adopting them now. We want this technology, first of all, to be adopted by everyone because it's a good technology, but also we want, at least what we're doing, to be connected to all of the chains and ecosystems that need it. So we already, we're deployed on Ethereum. We're going to deploy on Bitcoin. We're pushing very hard for OpCat to be adopted, in which case you will have very efficient Stark verification, and you could put Starknet as layer 2 on Bitcoin. There's no reason not to deploy it onto, Solana and other chains when they have the need for the scale or the privacy or the layer 3s that this allows. So, I don't see like any true demand that requires more scale in a secure way, in a broad way. We would like it to be interconnected, building this integrity web that basically then will be used by everyone, even if you're not aware that you're using it, just like the internet.
I think at this conference in particular, I've been sort of observing where the hottest parties are. And unfortunately, I think the hottest parties are the Ton parties, and maybe the Banerjee parties, and maybe the Solana parties. I think when there are new like emerging L1s with slightly different design choices start to emerge, I think naturally there's a large like community overlap. And then, but each of them, in order to succeed, is bound to like onboard net new users. So as kind of an Ethereum builder who thinks about like the different components and how the entire ecosystem fits together, I think like this week in particular has kind of made me try to think a little bit more about how like different chains could work together as well. Because if someone is onboarded by Ton, then how does that relate back to the like how does that person then start to benefit from a lot of the great innovation and creativity that is happening on the EVM space, and similarly like kind of where like proof of liquidity is. It naturally attracts and speaks to a slightly different demographic of people, and so how does that come into the fold, and how does that work together? So that's just kind of been top of mind. I don't think there is any I don't have any solution, but I think this is a interesting open problem that I think all of us will probably have to think about. And I think Starkware in some ways is a pioneer already thinking about kind of how to be more like Bitcoin inclusive, and I think Polygon also has a lot of like Ton related engagements there, experimentations, and I think this is kind of where we all have to start, like expanding how the monolithic concept can expand to include certain L1s, whether they believe
I
it
think
or not.
like I mean we are like I can say like we're building this internet of value, and if the value is fragmented across multiple silos, it's not going to help anybody. And I think that concept itself is going to force most of the ecosystems to see how they can have like more seamless value aggregation across the chains. And I think we strongly believe that. And that's one of the reasons like we generally like have been in touch with most of the layer 2s, data availability projects and all that, and want to figure out like some sort of environment where this value can be aggregated and floats around and can have like seamless and unified liquidity across the chains, where for end users it becomes very easy and simple to kind of interact with any of the chains. And then eventually in terms of the architectures, like everybody is improving their architectures on the execution side, and as more and more execution comes to the market, like eventually the better ones the win out from there. But for the end users, it's very important to have that unified value across the ecosystems.
I mean, unification is the key. I mean, we are working on that, and there is the need for composing values across different ecosystems and such. The only risk there is that when you actually cross some trust boundaries, you're actually losing security in some sense. There are different trade-offs that we as developers are taking on behalf of the users, so to say. So although it's important for the users to see it as seamless as we can, because that is what they deserve, but us as developers need to also be aware of the security trade-offs that we are taking on their behalf. When we shift, like when we flow information from one chain, a sovereign chain, to another sovereign chain, there's a separate security primitive than, let's say, a shared security primitive where all the rollups are using the same DLA and such. So those are the differences which happens when we talk about flow of information and flow of value. And that is something that we are also very concerned of, that how can we mostly propagate that knowledge to the devs who are building on top, so that they are not just choosing the easiest, as he mentioned, the thing that just is the most shiny right now, but also are choosing the right sets of trade-offs.
I mean, it's deploying on a layer 2 is 3 lines of code, right? My as a developer decision is also based on the tooling that you are providing. So, and I think we definitely need more tooling. We need the more open source tooling, verifier. Do you think we have enough tooling for developers today? Super quick, that we are almost on time.
Not at all, not at all. Like if you think about a developer today, like suppose a guy comes into the room and talks about, I want to develop a new application in this blockchain space. Like the amount of options that they have is huge, but the amount of tooling that they have is very, very limited. Like even like we do not have very good language supports for all kinds of languages. We do not have good frameworks to talk with multiple number of chains and so on. So I do not think we have enough tooling, but of course we are working on it. I think all of these guys have done tremendous amount of work in terms of tooling, like something like a Cairo engine, something like the entire CTK framework, the scroll stack that they have built. Like these are very good amount of tooling that Ethereum community together has built, and that is benefiting the community totally.
Yeah. And the simple answer is compared to like 2017 or 2020, there is a lot of tooling. But compared to a Web2, like, what Web2 developers have, it's, pretty much, non-existent.
I don't think we have time for questions, but yeah, any closing words that you guys want to say to the audience today?
No, I mean, nothing. If you're a dev, come see the cohort program that we have, the hackathons that we are working on. If you just check out our Discord and follow us on Twitter.
I think in conferences like this, you see a lot of developer tooling, and it feels like we're a space where there's a lot of hammers looking for the nail. But beyond industry-focused conferences like this, there's a sea of opportunities, and I think where I would like to see more people getting involved. I think this industry has a way of attracting technologists, people who are future forward, and it has a way of attracting grifters and people who are looking for like a quick kind of hype, attracted to that kind of stuff. But there is a severe lack of like product people, a severe lack of like designers, and a severe lack of like business people who understands like business dynamics and how to engage and discover customer needs. And if there's a way where these conferences could kind of loop in more people like that, I think the industry will be like much better as a whole.
I'll just end by saying Starknet is the future. I'm giving a talk, I think, next about it. You want to hear more? Stick around.
Yeah, and not like a technical comment, but like, this is the last panel that I and Eli are doing in this, token 2049. So stay tuned for more in the next conference wherever you are coming. Yeah, that's all from my side.
Awesome. Big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you.